Welcome to this RCSI University of Medicine and Health Sciences Lifestyle Medicine podcast series. And today's topic is sleep. And I'm delighted to welcome Dr. Mark Goetting. He's an associate professor in pediatrics and medicine and a clinical researcher at Western Michigan University Medical School. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Let's dive in. So we all know we need sleep. If we don't get sleep, it's bad for us. So tell us more about the consequences of inadequate sleep or sleep that we would call not very restorative.
Okay, so I guess to begin with, there are theories as to why we sleep. So one of the oldest and one that has a lot of evidence is to conserve energy. So, and as we look at biological studies of different creatures, basically we need to be awake for only a few functions, largely to get nutrition and to procreate. And if we can do that very efficiently, why waste calories doing anything involving wakefulness? Just sleep. So this is a concept that has some validity. A newer one that should make sense is based upon computer science, and that is that there's a certain amount of fatigue with overuse, and there is a need to recharge or reset to simplify and create an economy of thought, action, memory, emotions too. So they're not necessarily competing. They may be complementary theories, but put that aside, if we don't sleep well, if we don't pay that what we call sleep debt, our waking function is impaired. And it's impaired in all realms, in terms of energy, physical energy, mental energy, mood, concentration, social interaction, the ability to feel satisfaction. All of these things degrade. So we do have to invest in a way through sleep to have good wakefulness. And I would say the opposite is true. We have to invest in wakefulness to have good sleep. It's reciprocal.
It makes sense. We need that balance within our brain, as you've described. So you've made this great case about the need for sleep, and part of this ongoing balance to help our health and well-being. So then how do we do that? It's called sleep hygiene, right? What are the great sleep hygiene practices?
Yeah, so there are a few. I would start out by saying that we are made somewhat differently in terms of how we're going to sleep. So this is called the sentinel theory. So the idea is that when you get a group of humans together, and I'm going through genetics basically and social pressure, it is advantageous to the group to have at least one person awake at all times. So if we can picture a village of 500 people, it is a good idea that someone is alert at all times, because another village, maybe 10 miles away, will sneak in and steal all your stuff. So it is, and we have to take care of the sick, the babies, the animals, and whatever comes up. So we're not designed to all go to sleep at exactly the same time and wake up at the same time. So there are individual differences, and these are not diseases, they're just normal variants. So I'd say the first thing is to try to figure out, are you a so-called early bird or night owl? Another variant is middle of the night wakings, and typically it's somewhere around 1 to 3 a.m. And this used to be very common in Western Europe. We have good documentation of that. So a person is going to be up for a few hours, having finished what's called first sleep, and now preparing for second sleep. Shakespeare wrote about this. So 20% of American adults, anyway, do have middle of the night wakings for 15 or more minutes. So it is just an inevitability for quite a few people. So with all of that said, the idea is that you live well during the day so you can sleep well at night. Well, how do you live well during the day? Well, really, it's going to be a little bit predictable and maybe boring in some ways. And that is to have mealtime about the same volume, activities around the same time each day. Now, they don't have to be exactly at a certain time for everybody, but these signals that we get from eating, distension of our stomach, motor activity, are remembered in the brain as what we call zeitgebers or timekeepers. It gives a signal as to what time it is. Besides just looking at a watch, this is more deep-seated and primordial and robust. So people who have kind of a similar life each day likely will sleep better for that reason of enhancing what's called the circadian rhythm inside of all of us.
So consistency is the key word here. And that makes sense. And I've also read that one of those elements in our daily life that can impact our sleep, as you mentioned, of course, our activity level, how much we eat, when we eat, etc., but also our exposure to sunlight during the day while we're out and about. So then with the seasons changing where we may not get as much sunlight, how do we handle that?
It is a stressor to kind of the sleep-wake cycle. So humans originated near the equator, where, winter and summer didn't really have much distinction at all. Days were similar across the 12 months. So as we migrate north or south, we have to adapt. And so there is some problems with that. And if we really want to feel them most robustly, get on a jet and go 3 or 4 time zones, or head greatly north or greatly south. We appreciate the time zone thing and call that jet lag. But also, if you go to the Arctic, where maybe it's dark 18 hours out of the day, that will affect your sleep. So we slowly adjust, though, assuming we stay in the same geography, to the changes of the season, too. But it does affect us. Then we have governments that say, well, why don't we just switch these time zones around? And we can adapt to that, but that's yet another stressful thing, unless you get an extra hour of sleep and everyone's happy. It's that day you wake up an hour early and realize, oh, it's time to get up, too. So there's a lot of ingredients here with it, but light is a very powerful indicator as to what time it is.
Yeah, that slow adjustment makes sense. And that's and so when we have to make these sudden changes, whether we're moving to a new location in a different time zone or the time zone gets changed for us, then that can be very jolting. So that makes sense. Is there anything else from the scientific literature? I know sleep is an important topic and a healthy lifestyle, so there are always new studies coming out. Anything new coming out around this topic of sleep that is exciting to share?
I think there's more respect for it now, as opposed to it just being downtime. It can be pleasant. There's a lot of work in dream exploration and journaling and even something called lucid dreaming, in which you can become at least partially aware you're dreaming and change your dreams. So there's that's happening. There's more respect for shift workers in looking at how that affects their function, their sleep, their off-duty time, and their on-duty time too. So this is important for healthcare providers, for those in the military, police, firemen, et cetera. So many walks of life. So we're getting better at that. For example, shading out light and sound, cooling down the room, even though maybe you're going to sleep at 11 a.m. Because you're rotating through shifts. You mimic as many of those signals that you would normally get at bedtime if you weren't a shift worker to the time you're going to go to bed during the day. And it helps. It helps. It's not quite as good, but it helps.
Everything that we can do to help. Sounds great. Well, any other parting words as we wrap up this short segment on sleep? Any key messages you'd like our listeners to keep in mind?
I would advocate that people plan for their sleep. And I don't mean look at their watch and say, oh no, I've got to, but have a natural, pleasant winding down routine at night. And respect sleep in the sense that most things that you think you need to get done right away, you don't. And you can, that's what mañana, tomorrow's for. And just live with that. That you need to invest in sleep, and during the day, you need to invest in wake so that you can sleep. You can't really get rid of either of those.
Yeah. And one last question for our listeners: if they do feel like they're encountering a problem, they're not able to get to sleep, or they're waking up too early, there are a number of issues that can arise. What's the recommendation for how they know when they should seek the care of a health professional, or what should their next step be?
So if they have an issue in which they can't solve on their own, that's a good threshold to see a specialist who may be able to help you with that. There's a lot of different things that can be done behaviorally that will improve sleep. There are some conditions that may be hormonal or other, they have to do with inflammation of the body, that can affect sleep, or energy levels during the day that can be addressed from more of a medical viewpoint. And there are a lot of things during the day that affect sleep, and that's what drew me to lifestyle medicine. So a large number of the people I used to see, and still see, have sleeplessness. And a lot of that can dissipate with living during wakefulness in a certain pattern that your brain knows it's going to be time to sleep soon. You've got peace with the world. You can put off some things, but you have a plan for getting to them. So you can now relax and say goodbye to the day.
Yes. So you're making a great case about how interrelated all of the healthy lifestyle pillars are. That if we're eating in a healthy way, being active, managing our stress, not exposed to substances that can impact us neurologically in our sleep, connecting with others, doing positive activities that give us that sense of peace and mindfulness and sense of meaning. All of that helps our sleep. And I always make the argument when I give these talks on lifestyle medicine, and then it's a reciprocal reinforcing relationship. And in turn, getting that nice restorative sleep helps us to be happier, be healthier, and also more likely to follow through with the other pillars in our lifestyle and a healthy lifestyle. So they're all very closely linked.
They are, absolutely. If you don't have enough to eat, you're hungry, you're not going to sleep very well. One of the things humans can do when there's a problem is stay awake longer to solve it. This is, we think, a huge evolutionary benefit that we have an alerting system in case of danger or stress. If we need more time to do something, we can we can borrow it from sleep, pay it back later. So all of the things that may enhance stress, we want to try to deal with them during the day, and that allows sleep to do a better job for us. But there is that concept that I think is important. You can steal from sleep, but choose that wisely, because you will pay for it at some point.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Mark Goetting, and thank you to our listeners. This wraps up our segment on sleep in this mini lifestyle medicine podcast series. See you at the next segment. Take care. Bye-bye.